Here I want to demonstrate the copy skin weights function. So these got like a little animation on here of the brow going down, but you see there's actually no skinning of vertex groups on the brow at the moment. But I want to transfer and this is also its own separate object. So if I go to this, and if I go to my vertex weights menu, I can transfer weights between different objects. So if object's already assigned to the same armature, it's just going to copy the vertex groups as they are, and the values of the vertices is just going to copy them over. If it's not yet assigned to a armature, it will assign the target object to the same armature as the source object. If they assign to different armatures, it will look for similar bow names. If it can't find bow names, it will try and look for bones that's close to each other. But obviously, it's not always going to work. It's not going to work that robustly. If it's on the same armature or an armature that's got the same bow names or very similar names, it's got a better chance of working better. But in this case, it's pretty cut and dry because we want everything assigned to the same armature. So the bow names are going to be exactly the same. So this is a cut and dry case and perfect for this kind of thing. But it will try and have an attempt if you got other scenarios going on as well. But it will just vary in the success of it. But it should work in a fairly wide set of scenarios. So this is my source object. Now copy the skin weights from this to this. So select this here, select my brow. Okay, so even though the vertices are very, very different, it's going to go through and it's going to look for the closest vertices if they don't line up. And then it's also going to look not just to the closest vertex, but it's going to look at the surrounding vertices. And based on the distance, it's going to try to average those values back to the target object that you want to copy the skin weights to. So at the moment it's got no skin weights whatsoever. So if I copy the skin weights now, it's going to run through it, and you see there it did a pretty good job at least copying those skin weights across. If I now go to pose mode and I start pulling these around, let's put wireframe on. You see it's doing a pretty good job averaging those out. I haven't had much luck with this standard way of copying over. It seems to be missing a lot of stuff out, but this one seems to be doing a much better job at transferring those weights across in a very, very nice proportional and sort of like average weight. Also tries to normalize it a little bit, but the end result is that something that seems to be fairly robust if you want to copy those kind of things over. Cool. With this, normally I would go in and edit a little bit more, get the brows to be more consistent, but if you quickly want to do something like this and get a fairly good result quickly, it's better if it's something like this strap. It's going to be better if there's actually geometry underneath. This has got no geometry under this, so this will have a harder time copying it across. So if there's actually geometry under this clothing, and I think this will work well if you want to actually copy skin weights from, say, a body to some clothing, and you've still got the full geometry of the body underneath. It's going to do a much better job at copying those skin weights across. Also from one character to another, if they've got similar proportions and their body and their fingers are in the same place. Or it's maybe a lot situation. I think it will probably do a pretty good job as a starting point as copying skin weights over, and then probably do a bit of editing afterwards. Cool. Okay, cheers. Oh yeah, so since making the previous video with skin weights, I added a couple of extra features to this skin weights and an extra few tick boxes. So it's got a bit of extra functionality. So I just want to show you here. So if I add a cube, And I'm going to add another cube. One cube I'm going to put here at the top, and the other one I'm going to put here, say, at one of the joints. Okay, so at the moment there's no skinning on. Okay, so if I select my skin mesh again, it's going to bring up my menu. If I select that as the source, that's going to be fine. So I've got two kinds of skinning now. So I've got the skin weights copy that's much closer to the Blender standard skin weight copy, and it just looks for the closest vertex from the source to the target, and then it assigns those values to the target or the closest target vertex. Mine is a bit more advanced in the sense that it looks for 3 more vertices based on the distance from the target vertex. It will then assign like an average value to the target vertex from the source. The problem is that this more advanced method really relies on people remembering to go here and apply all your transforms. Now for this, you don't need to worry about that. So I added the extra tick box here that before it does the advanced skin weights copy, that it will apply the transform on your target object. So if I select that cube now, I haven't applied all the transforms. If I now go and copy those skin weights with this on, it will just work. And you'll see here, if I select this, it's actually applied all the transforms to this object, so scale, rotation, and position. So it does this job for you. If there's for any reason that you don't want this on, and you're going to be using the classic skin weights copy that doesn't rely on this so much, you can click this off, but this is on by default. But you'll see here, it works pretty well. So here, make sure this one is selected. And then if I copy skin weights, you'll see here down here is the option. So you can use fast, and fast is Blender's built-in one for quickly copying weights over. This is my more advanced one. So you can pick here which one you want to use. So we're going to use the advanced one. We haven't switched it over, and you'll see here it does a pretty good job at finding and interpreting that skinning over to those boxes. And these two boxes didn't have any skinning on them when we started. It just assigned them to these to this armature automatically. And if you check earlier on the video, there's some other rules and things that it assigns to, but this will make it really easy for you to, it should just work on most objects that you want to also skin to this armature. It will apply the transforms for you. It will do a bit more average check on the close by vertices and then assign them to those. And if that doesn't work well for you, you can always use the standard one from that option. You can just use your standard Blender one, and you can see which one works best for you. The other one is this selected verts only. So let me just delete these two. Just going to add another cube, a fresh cube again with nothing on it. And then in this cube, if I go and I go to edit mode, and I put this on, I select just the top verts, and then I go to object mode again. So just we have those verts selected. Let's delete this, that's the source. Now if we copy skin weights and we click this on, it should just apply it to the selected vertices of my target object. So do this with advanced, and now only those vertices as skin weights copied to them. So you can copy skin weights to selected vertices only if you want, and you just want to do for certain parts of a mesh. Or if you've got some good skinning on another part of the mesh, you can just not include this in the selection so it doesn't try to do everything in the mesh. So that gives you the opportunity to filter things out if you want. So I also added this auto weights if no mapping checkbox. So this is mainly for if you're copying from one armature to a target that's already got its own armature, and there's no matching bones between, or bone names between the source and the target. If it can't find any mapping or it's struggling, you could try and click this on. And if it can't assign any of the verts, or if it's close to a bone that doesn't match anything else in your source, you can click this on and it will then just assign automatic skin weights to those vertices. I mean, it's already a bit of a long shot for that to work. And in some cases it might, and in some cases it might not. But it's a bit of an experimental feature, and you can see if something isn't working or it doesn't want to copy, you can always try to click that on and see if it makes a difference. But hopefully this will make it much easier to copy skin weights from one object to another. So basically you just have to select your source and then your target. And even if your target, nothing's been done to it, it should in most cases just work, as long as there's not complicated parenting or some other weird stuff going on. But it should just work in most cases. Cool, thank you.